I ask consent that the quorum call be dispensed with.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the pending amendment be set aside and I call up my amendment 556, which is at the desk.
Without objection, the clerk will report.
Senator from South Dakota, Mr. Johnson, for himself and Mr. Kirk, proposes an amendment numbered 556. On page 114, between lines 18 and 19.
I ask unanimous consent that the amendment be considered as read.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to a period of morning business with senators permitted to speak for up to 10 minutes each. I note the as of a quorum.
Without objection. The clerk will call the roll. Or will the senator from South Dakota withhold his request on the quorum call? Yeah, the senator from Illinois is recognized.
Mr. President, this is a joint amendment. I support it. It concerns a report on the operations of Arlington National Cemetery, very necessary. My understanding is this then sets up the vote that the leaders have scheduled for Monday afternoon. And that is what we're doing right now to continue the consideration of this bill. With that, I yield back.
I note the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
New York is recognized.
I ask unanimous consent the quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
I understand there is a bill at the desk, and I ask for its first reading.
The clerk will read the title of the bill for the first time.
H.R. 2018, an act to amend the Federal Water Pollution Act to preserve the authority of each state to make determinations relating to the state's water quality standards and for other purposes.
I now ask for a second reading, and in order to place the bill on the calendar under the provisions of Rule 14, I object to my own request.
Objection having been heard, the bill will receive its second reading on the next legislative day.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that on Monday, July 18, 2011 at 5 p.m., the Senate proceed to executive session to consider calendar number 82, that there be 30 minutes for debate equally divided in the usual form, that upon the use or yielding back of time, the Senate proceed to vote without intervening action or debate on calendar number 82. The motion to reconsider be considered, made, and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate, that any related statements be printed in the record, that the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action, and then the Senate then resume legislative action.
Without objection.
I understand that there is a bill at the desk, and I ask for its first reading. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that when the Senate completes its business today, it adjourn until 2 p.m. Monday, July 18th, that following the prayer and pledge, the journal of proceedings be approved to date, the morning hour be deemed expired, and the time for the two leaders be reserved for their use later in the day. That following any leader remarks, the Senate be in a period of morning business until 3:30 p.m. with senators permitted to speak therein for up to 10 minutes each. And that following morning business, the Senate resume consideration of H.R. 2055, the Military Construction, Veterans Affairs, and Related Agencies Appropriations Bill. Further, that at 5 p.m. the Senate proceed to executive session under the previous order.
Without objection.
Mr. President, there will be a roll call vote at 5:30 p.m. on Monday. That vote will be on the confirmation of J. Paul Etkin to be the United States District Judge for the Southern District of New York. Mr. President, if there is no further business to come before the Senate, I ask that it adjourn under the previous order.
The Senate stands adjourned until Monday, July 18th at 2 p.m.
The Senate has just concluded its business for the day. When senators return, they'll continue work on their first spending bill for 2012, a $142 billion measure for the Veterans Affairs Department and military construction projects. Live coverage when the Senate returns here on C-SPAN 2.
This weekend on Book TV on C-SPAN 2. On Afterwards, in Hesitation Kills, Marine Major Jane Blair relives her experiences on the front lines in Iraq. In Railroaded, Richard White gauges the impact of the Transcontinental Railroad on the Gilded Age. And in Eisenhower 1956, David Nichols looks at the Suez Canal crisis. Eisenhower faces a change in the Cold War's balance of power. Look for the complete Book TV schedule at booktv.org and sign up for a Book TV alert, weekend schedules, in your inbox.
The Library of Congress is considered one of the greatest photographic resources in the world, and we're here in the Civil War photograph exhibit. If you were to look at every photo in the library's collection and spend a minute on each, how long would it take? Well, you'll find lots of answers about this unique library in C-SPAN's original documentary, The Library of Congress, airing this Monday night. We'll tour the iconic Jefferson Building, including the Great Hall and the Reading Room. We'll show treasures found in the rare books and special collections, including the original Thomas Jefferson Library, and presidential papers from George Washington to Calvin Coolidge, and learn how the library is using technology to discover hidden secrets in their collection and to preserve its holdings for future generations. Join us for the Library of Congress this Monday night at 8 Eastern and Pacific on C-SPAN. If you looked at every photo in this library's collection and spent just 1 minute on each, it would take over 24 years to see them all.
As debt limit negotiations continue in Washington, senators staked out their positions on the Senate floor. Here's part of today's debate, starting with Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid.
Mr. President, there are some in the Republican Party who will not listen to the truth, no matter who speaks it. This is my opinion. If we allow this nation, for the first time in its history, to default on our national obligations, it will not only be a black mark on our reputation, but also a massive financial disaster that will sweep the world into global depression. But it's not my opinion alone. I've come to that belief by listening to the most respected voices in the business community. Default, they say, and I quote, is a risk our country must not take. They're not the only one who believe that that's true. The most respected bankers have said it. J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon said default would be catastrophic. Investors have said it. Bill Gross, one of the world's largest mutual fund managers, sent us a warning yesterday. He said, quote, there should be no question at all. The debt ceiling must be raised and not be held hostage by budget negotiations. Don't mess with the debt ceiling, Washington, is what Bill Gross said. Economists have also said it. Ben Bernanke, appointed by President Bush as chairman of the Federal Reserve, has said default would be a major crisis that would send shockwaves through the world financial markets. And yesterday he said failure to avert default would mean huge financial calamity. Even other Republicans have said it. This is what Speaker Boehner said in April. Quote, not raising the debt limit would be serious, very serious. Implications for the worldwide economy and jobs here in America, end of quote. And perhaps most telling of all three rating agencies have already sent warning shots across our bow. Last night, Moody's cautioned us that America's AAA rating, the AAA rating, was already under review for downgrade. Never in the history of the country has that happened, that we're being reviewed to downgrade our debt rating. We have just 3 weeks left until we miss our first payment. They cited the, quote, rising possibility that we will default. They said that we would lose this crucial rating, which saves every American money every day, even before we miss a payment. Standard & Poor's has told Congress and business leaders that even if the United States keeps paying creditors but delays payments such as Social Security or veterans benefits, it would cut our rating. And Fitch has said a default would, quote, threaten the still fragile financial stability in the United States and the world as a whole, close quotes. So why are some Republicans in Congress still saying that a first-ever default on our nation's financial obligations would be no big deal? When every financial expert, investor, business leader, and banker in the country, and even every reasonable member of your own political party is telling you the consequence of default would be catastrophic, it's time to start listening. Why? Because default won't just roil the financial markets, pushing interest rates higher, and tank the stock markets. It will affect every American's wallet as well. Here are a few things that will happen. Social Security checks and veterans benefits and paychecks to our troops would stop. Some of the most vulnerable Americans would be placed at risk. Our promise to the men and women who protect this nation so bravely and those who protect it today would be broken. We would not be able to make payments to our military. Payments on our national debt would stop. American investments in retirement accounts would be decimated. Millions of Americans could lose their jobs. Interest rates would rise, not only for the government, but for ordinary Americans as well. Those Americans will pay more for their mortgages. They'll pay more to use a credit card or buy a car or finance a university education. They'll even pay more for their electric bills, groceries, and gas. The spike in interest rates and the damage to the United States dollar alone would cost the average American family more than $1,500 immediately. It would be the most serious financial crisis this country has ever faced. And it would come at a time when our economy can least afford it. And in the long run, it would wind up costing the government not millions, not billions, trillions of dollars. A fact Republicans shouting about the debt fail to mention. For every 1% increase in interest rates, it will cost our nation 1.3, again, not million, not billions, but trillions. For every 1% increase in interest rates, it will cost this nation $1.3 trillion. There's so much at stake. Even Speaker Boehner and Minority Leader McConnell seem to understand the seriousness of this situation. They're willing to negotiate in good faith, which I appreciate, and the country appreciates. Meanwhile, House Majority Leader Eric Cantor has shown that he shouldn't even be at the table, and Republicans agree he shouldn't be at the table. One Republican told Politico last night at Hill publication, quote, he lost a lot of credibility when he walked away from the table. It was childish, end of quote. What that's all about, Mr. President, we had negotiations going here on room S-219, short jog from here. And he just walked out on the meetings with the Vice President of the United States. It was childish. Another Republican said Cantor is putting himself first. He said this, quote, he's all about Eric, end of quote. The time for personal gain and political posturing are over. It's time to put our economy and our country first. The risks we face are simply too great. We don't need to take my word for it. More than 300 respected business leaders wrote to Congress the night before last to make it clear how serious this crisis really is. Quote again, a great nation, like a great company, has to be relied upon to pay its debts when they become due. They further said this is Main Street, not Wall Street. This is a Main Street issue, not a Wall Street issue. We're listening. It's time for the irresponsible voices in the Republican Party that continue to deny the truth of this crisis to start listening as well.